All right. Hey, everyone. Uh, hi. Sorry, we were a few minutes late. Welcome to the Wiyana show. I'm Yusuf, and my guest, or not my guest, but my host from far away, Ali, and our guest from even further away, Alex Aniel. It is 3 p.m. And good night for you, right? Yeah. So we would say "kombawa." Kombawa. Oh wait, you guys can't hear Alex? Oh wait, hold on. Oh yeah, because it's
Uh,
muted. Can you guys? Okay, guys, talk. Because I had the thing muted. Sorry.
Hi Ali, Des, and
Okay, can you guys now hear Ali and Alex?
Can you hear me? Yes.
I'm looking at the
Hello.
chat. I can hear you.
yes,
I'm just looking
no,
at the chat.
yeah,
Okay, yes, the chat
yes.
says we're
Okay,
good. The
the
chat
chat
says we're
can
good.
hear us.
Yeah, sorry about
Perfect.
that, guys. So, I've actually wanted to do something with you, Alex, for almost 2 years.
Wow, it's
like
been
you
that
know,
long?
like an interview kind of thing. We actually first discussed doing like a panel, if you remember back, when you came to Kuwait. We discussed you doing a panel for your book. Uh, but then, your book got delayed, or I don't know what you said, so we kind of threw that away. Anyways, today is going to be a special Resident Evil focused episode. Of course, we're going to talk about other things as well, but we're going to focus mostly on Resident Evil. And we're also going to talk about, other non Resident Evil things, but the majority of the focus will be on Resident Evil. And yeah, and there's also going to be two giveaways, guys. People in the chat, there's going to be two giveaways, so look out for that, for those giveaways. So, anyways, let's start with an intro. Who is Alex? Who is you?
Who am I?
Who is you?
I am a. How do I describe myself? I am American.
Okay.
I live in Tokyo, and I've lived here for 13 years. I work in the
Wow.
game industry, and I'm a big fan of Resident Evil.
So we could call you a Resident Evil freak.
Yeah, you can say that.
So yeah, Alex, before we get into it, I just want to tell the viewers like how we got to know each other before we dive into the Resident Evil stuff. So I obviously me and Ali we organize events gaming events here in Kuwait, and we got in touch with you via the founder of Brave Wave Music, Mohammed, and I actually always knew of you as CVX Freak. Like
Hmm.
I've known that name since at least 2005, 2006, at the very least, if not even before that. Um, but I never knew that Alex Aniel is CVX Freak.
Oh yeah,
so
yeah. That
so
happens pretty often, actually.
and
Where
and when people were saying, yeah, like because some of the people that I work with, they met you and talked to you, and they said, yeah, we met Alex, uh, and Alex, we told him about coming to Kuwait and stuff. I just never knew that this Alex that they were talking to is the same CVX freak. So then I
yeah, yeah.
contacted you, and I just gotta say that you were one of the best people to work with, to be honest. Uh, because I told you about the problems I have talking to foreigners about coming to Kuwait and stuff, and with you it was like, yeah, let's do this.
Well, it's a nice place to visit, so I'm always
Yeah,
happy to uh, find new opportunities to visit the country.
exactly. So yeah, so we got to know each other via uh, our work in doing expos and you coming via Brave Wave and stuff. But now we're gonna talk as just gamers. No expo, no
No
music
work.
label, no. It's just fun. It's like casual fun. All three of us here are gamers. You know, I think some people in chat are gamers. I don't think that people who like Red Dead Redemption can be classified as gamers because some of the people in chats, we have this thing with certain people in chats that they love Red Dead Redemption too, like so much, so much.
Well, it's a popular game. Probably sold like 30 million copies, so I imagine there are a lot of people out there who enjoy it.
They're saying nasty words right now in chats, but and actually, one of them, Alex, in chats. Unfortunately, you know this person. I'm sorry to say that you know this person, Dorian Chow.
Dorian.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. You heard that, man? He doesn't like you.
I'm actually
it's
surprised.
okay. I like you. Prince Ali likes you.
All right.
So, anyways, actually, you know what, Alex? Because I want you to keep up with what's going. So I'm gonna send you the link to the chat.
I actually have it open on my window.
Oh,
so
you do. Okay.
I do.
Good,
Yeah.
good.
I have Twitch open right here on this window.
Okay. So just so you know, Hype Your Games and Sir Ganesh are the trolls in the chat. So like, don't listen to them or pay them any attention.
My name is spelled wrong, by the way, on this chat. Just wanted you to know. My last name is spelled wrong.
Oh, is it IE?
Yes, it's IE.
Okay, well we can change that. That's no wait. Where is it? Right.
All right.
Okay, wait. IE and boom. There we go. We changed it.
Yay!
Wow.
So
good work.
Yeah, that's magic, guys.
I love how he got the CVX freak right, but your last name wrong.
Because that's the name I know him by. So, anyways, we did a kind of a long intro. Let's get into Resident Evil. So, Alex, how did you get into Resident Evil?
So I first started playing Resident Evil in 2000. The first game that I bought was Resident Evil Code Veronica on the Dreamcast. And the reason I wanted to try that game was because I had actually played the first Silent Hill on the PlayStation a few months before, and I thought the first Silent Hill was an amazing game, and it introduced me to the world of survival horror. So I had found out that Silent Hill was definitely not the first survival horror game. It was Resident Evil. So I thought maybe I had a Dreamcast that I had just bought recently as well. So I thought, maybe giving Resident Evil a try would be an interesting idea. So I bought Code Veronica, played that, and I became very fascinated with it almost instantly.
Okay, and would you say that because since your nickname is CVX Freak, Code Veronica Freak, would you say that it's your favorite in the franchise or?
Not anymore. It was the first
over?
Resident Evil game I played. Definitely Resident Evil 4, for sure.
Oh, okay, okay.
Even among the similar pre-rendered or fixed camera angle games, I would say the Resident Evil remake would be my favorite in that regard. But yeah, Resident Evil Code Veronica was my first Resident Evil, so I do have very fond memories of it. I do recognize that not everybody likes the game, and it probably has aged quite poorly in a lot of respects. But I quite like it. I like a lot of the interesting things about that game, and I can still play it today without having any problems.
Okay. And just as a contrast, Alex, I got started into Resident Evil with Resident Evil 1. But the funny thing is, I bought the CD for my cousin, okay, because at that time, I was still in my I cannot be disloyal to Nintendo phase. Okay, so I was okay with buying games and playing it, but not owning it.
Interesting.
So, anyways, but I never really because I didn't own a PlayStation at the time. I never really got past the part where the dogs jump out from the windows in Resident Evil 1. the first time they do that. Like I got a little bit past that, and then I just I couldn't continue because I didn't have a memory card, I didn't have a PlayStation. So, but then fast forward 1 year, I ended up buying a PlayStation because of Final Fantasy VII. That's like another story, and then I got Resident Evil 2. So, although I started with Resident Evil 1, I think it's safe to say that I really started with Resident Evil 2 because that's the one I owned and bought and played, from start to finish. I still remember I was at the time I was actually in military school, so we could only it was in the U.S. and we could only leave on certain weekends. And that weekend happened to be the release date I think it was like January 1998 for Resident Evil 2. I left the school. It's like an hour from the school to where I lived. My dad took me, because I was a kid, my dad took me to the mall. I went to buy Resident Evil 2, and I beat it the same day I bought it.
Oh, very nice.
Because, Resident Evil games are not that long, They're like 3-4 hours, 5 hours, that kind of stuff. So that's my start with Resident Evil. And and then since then, I became a fan. I've played 3, and actually, I've actually played every Resident Evil game so far, except the spin-off games. What about you?
That's pretty good. Yeah.
What about you?
I mean, I've played virtually every Resident Evil game. There are actually a handful that I have not beaten. I think actually maybe Umbrella Corps is probably the one Resident Evil game that I haven't beaten.
That's the multiplayer one, right?
Yeah, that came out like 4 years ago almost, and it's definitely not very similar to the standard Resident Evil formula. So it's not something that I'm probably going to beat anytime soon. Other than that, I guess I've beaten every other one, including Gaiden, including the Gun Survivor games, Operation Raccoon City. But it's funny that you mentioned earlier that you had a phase where you were very loyal to Nintendo, which I can identify with.
I still am.
I mean, before I got into Resident Evil, I was definitely a big fan of Nintendo's games, and I still am today. And I noticed that a lot of people who have an affinity with Resident Evil seem to tie it closely to the PlayStation at times, and I think that's fair. But because I started with Resident Evil Code Veronica on Dreamcast, and right after that, Resident Evil became a GameCube series for a while. I actually don't really mentally tie Resident Evil with the PlayStation together, but I'm sure if I had started with the first game, I probably would be more likely to do that.
Yeah, like I tie it to PlayStation. Resident Evil, I tie it to PlayStation because
Yeah, that's cool. I mean, my favorite Resident Evil games are ones that did not debut on the PlayStation. So Resident Evil Code Veronica, Resident Evil Remake, Resident Evil 4. So
there's actually one important question we didn't ask. Is that what is Ali's favorite Resident Evil?
Well, it's a funny story, really. Yeah, because the story of how
you guys gotta hear this. You guys gotta hear this.
The story of how I got into Resident Evil is that I didn't.
He didn't. Your favorite is you didn't. That's your favorite Resident Evil, Ali, right?
Yes.
There are like 15 Resident Evil games. You didn't try one of them.
Well, I saw 2.
The remake, though, not the original.
I saw remake. I saw remake 2, and I saw remake 3, and I didn't see them all the way through. I just saw the beginnings. So. Well, Nemesis is terrifying.
I mean,
yes.
Is it the fear factor that kind of puts you off, or you're not a fan of the gameplay?
Well, if I'm going by what consoles I used to have, I think it would kind of make sense. Because my first ever console was a Sega Mega Drive 2. And after that, I had a Game Boy, then Game Boy Advance, and then a GameCube. And then I had like a PlayStation 2 at the end of its life cycle. And I didn't really, I didn't really actually see Resident Evil in front of me until the PlayStation 3 era. When it was basically just Call of Duty shooting zombies. And I was like, yeah, okay, they're killing zombies. And
So there were
Yes.
6 Resident Evil games on GameCube, including Resident Evil 4, which made headlines 15 years ago, and you didn't think to try any of them.
I didn't see any of the headlines. I didn't even know the Zelda games existed until the GameCube. Until I got the GameCube.
I don't know why I work with this guy.
Look. Here's the thing. I got the GameCube because I saw because my cousin had it. When we used to go to her house, we'd play in the basement, and there were 2 games that I got the GameCube for. Super Smash Bros. Melee, because that was the first time I saw like Pikachu and Link and everyone fighting, and I didn't even know who Link was at the time. It just Sword and Shield. He looked cool, and Tales of Symphonia, because it was the first ever multiplayer RPG I ever saw, and every console, it was me and my brother, we always shared them. So Tales of Symphonia was like perfect. We'd both be playing player 1, player 2, and we'd go at it for like hundreds of hours. And then our next games are like Pokemon Colosseum, Vex, Pokemon XD, Gale of Darkness, Sonic Adventure 2, and the Mario Strikers. That was our game catalog during the GameCube era.
So no mature games.
Not
No,
bad, not
we
bad.
didn't have any. We didn't
Not at
have
all.
any. Well, Vex was a mature game because he did raise his middle finger at the final boss. So I guess, yeah. And if you count
Pokemon
Daisy
Colosseum.
and Strikers,
Anyone remember Mirror B and his theme song?
Mirror B, his theme is the best in that game. And Colosseum was probably, I love it so much because it let me use Umbreon and Espeon.
But
And I
guys,
didn't have
we're getting away
any-
from Resident Evil. We're getting away from
Yeah.
We should-
Umbreon is a dark type. Dark types thrive in the darkness where zombies live. Go.
So, anyways, so we know how I started. We know how Alex started, and we now know how Ali didn't start. So now that we got that out of the way, So right now, Remake 3 came out, Alex. So let's talk about that.
Yeah.
What are your thoughts on Remake 3?
With spoilers, without spoilers?
Spoilers. I mean, we've told people that we're going to do an interview, so go ahead with the spoilers.
All right, so yeah, spoiler warning. If you have not played the game, drop out right
Exactly.
now. So,
Or keep us on mute.
man,
We can have the views.
We might be here all night.
Well-
No,
it's okay. It's okay.
Because if you like to understand Resident Evil 3, you have to talk about a lot of things about in Resident Evil history that allow you to contextualize why the game exists. Even for the original version, it's quite a unique game in a lot of ways because even though it's Resident Evil 3, it didn't originally start development as a game called Resident Evil 3. It was supposed to be a spin-off that had nothing to do with the rest of the games. But things happened, and they ended up adding the number 3 to the game. So even though Resident Evil 3 is a much smaller game than its predecessors, and there are minimal things about its story that are relevant in the greater series timeline, I think it's quite a good game to play because there are a lot of unique features about it. Even though there's only one scenario in the game, you can check out multiple branching paths, you can get multiple endings, see events from a different point of view. So there was a lot of replay value. The thing is, the remake is very different from that. So even though the remake is called Resident Evil 3, what I discovered after nearly 20 playthroughs is that there is very little about the remake that resembles the original game. And I actually disagree with that approach in general.
So wait, just a quick question. You did 15 playthroughs of Remake 3, not the original one. Just to be clear.
Well, I mean, in the last week and a half, I have done like 15 or 16 different, maybe 17.
And that's why he is CVX free.
Yeah. Well, to be fair, I don't normally play a Resident Evil game that many times when it comes out. Usually it'll be maybe 5 or 10 playthroughs, depending on what the game is and how much I like it. But the thing about Resident Evil 3 Remake is that it's a very short game. So once you beat the game once, if you beat the game one time, you will have memorized how to play through the game for the most part, and it shouldn't take you more than maybe 90 minutes to get through it, which is even for series standards, it's pretty short. I thought Resident Evil 2 Remake was fairly short, but then Resident Evil 3 came and showed that you can have an even shorter game. My personal record is 59 minutes, so not even an hour.
Wow.
Oh, wow.
Like I feel like the first chapter of FF7 Remake, which I also played a little bit of, takes longer than all of RE3. So it's really disheartening. And the thing that really bothers me about Resident Evil 3 Remake is that because even though it's so short, there's no variety to the game. They don't give you multiple puzzle solutions. You don't get multiple endings, no multiple paths, no different cutscenes. It's all very monotone is not the right word, but it's the same thing from every single time. And I think the original version of Resident Evil 3, which came out 20 years ago, I think it really did a good job offering a different variety of gameplay in each session that, the remake just got rid of it entirely. The other thing about Resident Evil 3 Remake that bothered me was a lot of areas were cut out, like very iconic areas, not like single rooms that weren't put in the remake. We're talking about the clock tower, which was one of my favorite locations in the original game. That got cut out. Another thing that was underwhelming was that the city streets were very linear and they weren't as expansive as I would have hoped. So even though you're back in Raccoon City and you're outside the police station this time, the level design is still decidedly very linear, and you can't really explore. And I do understand that the game wasn't designed to be like that. It's not like an open sandbox game, which is fine. But I expected a little more out of that element of the game. The Raccoon City recreated in RE Engine, and it looks pretty, but I feel like design-wise, it just isn't ambitious enough to really stand out, if that makes sense.
I mean, to me, my favorite Resident Evil was 2. And then when Remake 2 came out, then that, by default became, my favorite Resident Evil. I never really liked the approach of action to Resident Evil games. So, 4 to me was like the perfect balance. But then 5 and 6 kind of just, really, went away with it. When I played the original Nemesis, and that's also something that I don't like about the remake. It doesn't say Resident Evil 3 Nemesis like the original did. I missed that.
Yeah, that's interesting. They dropped the subtitle.
Yeah, I didn't like that. When I first heard, when I remember when I first read previews of Resident Evil 3 on PlayStation 1 about how Nemesis follows you and stuff like that, I was like, wow, the concept itself is cool, but I was like, I don't think we have the technology to make it faithful, the idea, the concepts. And when I first played it, the original Resident Evil 3, I liked it, but there was something about it that I could tell they were trying to make it more action paced, but the controls and the technology just didn't allow it to grow into what it wanted it to be. So I remember I didn't even bother finishing it. I think I played 20-30 minutes and I just kind of forgot about it. But I love the idea of Nemesis hunting you and stuff like that. And I felt that, look, I love Remake 3. Okay? I'm actually very surprised that I liked it as much as I did. The gameplay is even smoother than Remake 2, but I mean, it kind of has to be because it's more action-paced. But Nemesis didn't even feel like a threat in Remake 3. Did he feel?
Yeah,
that,
you gotta play the. Not until I started playing the more difficult modes. So there are 5 difficulty modes.
Right.
The assisted, standard, and hardcore are kind of a joke. None of them are terribly difficult. Even hardcore is doable for anyone with decent skills in Resident Evil games. I'm not a terribly skilled player, actually, even though I'm a big fan. I'm not one of the speedrunners or the no damage runners, but I didn't really have a problem with hardcore. Nightmare is a lot harder. So Nemesis does feel like a threat in that game, but the thing is, you're right. I think the reason why Nemesis rarely feels like a threat is because you don't battle him all that often. And the few times you do encounter him, you're running away from him half the time, and the game forces you to run away from him. You can't really stand your ground all that often. And I thought that was a very big departure from the original, because even though in the original Resident Evil 3, technically Nemesis's appearances were scripted to an extent, at least they would change from playthrough to playthrough, and Nemesis would appear at random times, semi-random times, and you could fight him or you could run away, but you couldn't predict it from run through to run through. But in this game, each appearance happens at the exact same time in the exact same location. So you can't really, I mean, in the first time you might be surprised, but even then it's fairly mild. I thought Mr. X in Resident Evil 2 was a lot better implemented and a lot closer to the spirit of the original Nemesis, because Mr. X, although he would appear at the same time in every playthrough in Resident Evil 2, how he would follow you throughout the RPD was not necessarily the same each time. True. So you can also change your routing. You can go through that door or this door, and you could lose Mr. X that way, and he might appear somewhere else later down the line. So Mr. X is a lot less predictable than Nemesis in Resident Evil 3, which I thought was a very unexpected way to implement him, and I wasn't really a big fan of it. I thought Nemesis was a little too pre-baked. I feel like he lost a lot of the ferociousness that he was known for. He was known for in the original.
I got my own Nemesis here.
Good design. Good design, though. I think Nemesis was well designed for the most part. Maybe his teeth are a little too big, but I really do like his presence in the game. Like when he himself appears, it's great. But what he does isn't nearly as interesting as I've seen in other Resident Evil games. Even the last two, like Resident Evil 7, we had Jack Baker. He was a bit of an intimidating stalker. We had Mr. X in Resident Evil 2 Remake as well, and I thought they made for more convincing stalkers than Nemesis did.
Yeah, that's what bothered me. Like the game that started the stalking in Resident Evil games, it has like the worst stalker in the remake. That's what bothered me. But I loved the more action paced and like the dodge maneuvers and stuff like that. I like that. To be honest, I didn't expect to actually finish Resident Evil 3 Remake, but I really liked it. But I was really, really disappointed to find out that there was like no scenario B or something like that, like previous Resident Evil games.
Yeah.
Like,
I mean, there was never a scenario. Well, there was never a scenario B in the original either.
But there were different.
Different pathways, yes.
Yeah.
That got taken out. And that's what I was talking about earlier.
That got taken
about
out.
How despite the game being, I'm going to say it's abnormally short, even for a Resident Evil game.
Yeah.
Like I should not be beating a Resident Evil game within 59 minutes within the first week I buy it. Right? That's not normal. It's just not. Most Resident Evil games, all other Resident Evil games have taken longer than that. And so I thought maybe we'll get like a different pathway the second time around, or they'll change the puzzle solutions around. We'll see different cutscenes. None of that is there. And I feel like it is not to the game's benefit. In spite of, I think the actual main scenario itself is quite strong in general. Like the pacing, I think, is really good. You don't drag out or the game doesn't drag out in any particular section for too long. I think it gives us the opportunity to see different parts of the city at a pretty good pace. But, you know, I after a few playthroughs, I identified a few spots where there could have been a live selection feature, or there could have been a branching path, or like the train puzzle. Remember where you have to figure out the route of the train?
Yeah.
Like, I feel like you could have easily randomized that, like easily. I feel like they were egging us on by having this multiple route map, but it's the same solution every single time. So I was like, did they rush this game out? You know, did they run out of development time and decided to just get the game out? Because
the game feels polished. It doesn't feel rushed. But it doesn't feel developed content-wise, though. Everything else was good.
It feels like Resident Evil 2 DLC. I feel like there's an alternate universe or an alternate timeline where Capcom could have said, okay, well, Monster Hunter World Iceborne, we branded it as DLC, but it definitely has enough content to stand on its own. But let's release that as an expansion pack. I feel like Capcom could have easily done the same thing here, where they could have said, okay, if you want the full Raccoon City experience, you can buy Resident Evil 2 plus 3 in one package. Or if you already own Resident Evil 2, you can buy Resident Evil 3 for $40 or something as DLC. And I feel like that would have sold the game a lot better in spite of all the cuts compared to the original game. Because, I mean, from what I heard, like apparently Resident Evil 2 and Resident Evil 3, the original idea was for Resident Evil 2 to incorporate the story of 3 as one comprehensive remake. And that was an idea that they ended up getting rid of fairly early on in the production, and it kind of became its own thing. But I do think that, you know, you have games like Breath of the Wild or Animal Crossing or Final Fantasy VII that's going to last you, you know, dozens of hours. Whereas, you know, you're lucky to get that much time out of Resident Evil 3 at this point. So it feels like a very, especially in these times, you know, when not everyone, you know, will have a job next week.
Right.
Will have discretionary income next week. It seems like a bit of a bad value. And, you know, I know Resident Evil Resistance is part of the package, but you have to be very invested in the multiplayer Resident Evil experience to be into that. And I don't think everybody necessarily is. So,
well, I was actually going to get to Resistance, but before Resistance, since you mentioned, you know, about, you know, the whole situation we're in right now, do you think the coronavirus was a viral marketing campaign from Capcom to promote Resident Evil 3 Remake? Yes or no?
Oh, I mean, the answer is no, but I mean, I feel bad for laughing, but there are kind of a few funny coincidences that about Resident Evil and coronavirus.
Yeah. Especially the umbrella behind Yusuf.
Yusuf, yeah, like the C virus outbreak in China. That was the central plot point of Resident Evil 6 a few years ago. So it's not like the similarities are lost on people. I mean, but of course not. I think the coronavirus is a tragedy on all fronts, and it's affected everybody in every country, in every industry, whether you're in gaming or you're in travel, event management. You work at a supermarket or as a taxi driver, and I think it's really unfortunate that the world is going through this. That said, I do appreciate that Capcom released the game, and I think it's providing people a bit of a mental timeout. Although it's funny, you know, you watch the opening video of Resident Evil 3, and I think one of the first lines in the scene is like this pandemic is spreading faster than we've ever seen before, and I was looking at
people. No, I remember the lines. There was 3 words they used. They used this pandemic something, and this area is under quarantine, and we are finding a vaccine for the virus.
vaccine, quarantine, pandemic.
Yeah.
And I think the CDC is mentioned in a few files.
And the files
As
maybe,
well.
but not in the cutscenes. Not in the cutscenes.
Yeah, it's a coincidence. And I guess it's I was thinking, is this a metaphor for life? Like funny enough, I feel like all these big games that have come out recently are metaphors for life right now. Animal Crossing. If you can't travel in real life, travel in Animal Crossing,
Actually,
right?
I was just going to get to that. Since you believe that Capcom has nothing to do with the coronavirus, do you think Nintendo has something to do with the coronavirus to sell Animal Crossing to people?
I would not.
You don't
I
think?
would not assume. I think the drawbacks outweigh the benefits of such a thing. I mean, Nintendo's having manufacturing problems now because of coronavirus.
Everybody. We're actually under strict quarantine here in Kuwait. Actually, very, very strict. Like getting arrested strict, which doesn't happen in Kuwait. Kuwait is not the country where people get arrested. Like you have to really do something horrible to get arrested, and even speeding you don't get arrested. But anyways, these topics we'll get to, well, I mean, we can talk about the coronavirus because obviously one of the things we're going to discuss is what we're playing, and we're basically all stuck home because of the coronavirus. But anyways, back to Resident Evil. What do you think of Resistance, the multiplayer mode?
I actually am having quite a bit of fun with it.
And did you play Outbreak before?
I did, yeah. Oh, yeah. Tons of times. But then the thing about Resident Evil Outbreak and Resident Evil Resistance is that if you're not a super skilled player, you can be a bit of a burden to your teammates.
Yeah.
And even going back to the Outbreak games, I've always been better as backup. I'm not really the lead the way and kill every zombie and solve every puzzle kind of player for the multiplayer games. So with Outbreak, I always chose the character who can hold the most items, even if she wasn't a terribly skilled fighter. And I would just go with the more skilled player and hold items for that person and maybe help out in the boss battles every now and then. With Resistance, I'm kind of the same. I try to pick January, the character who can disable cameras, and she has a lot of tech expertise. So I'm usually disabling the cameras and trying to help the team out.
Everybody's picking Valerie and January in Resistance. I noticed.
Yeah, because if you're not an aggro player who can go in guns a-blazing, then I would say Valerie and January are probably better characters.
Right.
I haven't played as Martin Sandwich yet, but I just have to wonder who came up with his name. That just kind of.
I actually I played the original Outbreak on PS2, and it was actually one of my favorite, some of my fondest online experiences, especially since it came out at a time where online gaming on console was still relatively new at the time. I had tons of fun with it. The only thing that I didn't like was it didn't have voice chat. I mean, a lot of games back then didn't have voice chat, but a game like Outbreak needs voice chat. That should have been part of the development discussions, I think.
Oh, absolutely, yeah. And I actually talk about that in my book. That was something that Capcom didn't actually realize was important. And I think part of the reason is cultural. I think Japanese people in general value privacy and not disclosing their identities. And I think back when Resident Evil Outbreak came out, that was still a very prevalent way of thinking. Even in arcades, you'll notice that sometimes the two arcade machines face each other, so the two players can't look at each other in the eye directly.
Yeah.
Interact directly. Yeah, and I think Resident Evil Outbreak's lack of voice chat was an extension of that. A cultural preference to maintain a sense of privacy.
But still, I mean, the game
Um,
really is unplayable. I remember I played with my friend over the phone.
yeah, yeah. I mean, I think in the present day, it's an instantly solvable problem.
Yeah. No, no, no.
Just
I'm
get on
talking like
Skype,
15 years ago. I played with him
right?
over the
No,
phone. Like,
15 years ago. Yeah, I used MSN Messenger back
yeah,
in the day
yeah.
to communicate with people. So
You're showing your
you know,
age, Alex. You're showing your age.
we all had to figure out a way to make it work. I had a friend of mine in California who I'd play with pretty often, and you know, we used the chat. So yeah, I think I would like to see them bring Outbreak back. I mean,
Yeah.
I don't think they can remaster it today without making sweeping changes to the game structure. Like there were a lot
Obviously,
of
obviously.
quality of life problems with that game. The net code is outdated. The
No, I'm
loading
just talking
times
about the
between rooms are too
I
long.
mean, obviously that game is like super outdated, but I'm just talking about the concept. It was a good concept, like just like a general idea. I liked it, and I was hoping that Resistance would be more like Outbreak, and going online, reading what people are saying. That a lot of people were expecting Resistance to be like Outbreak, and they were disappointed to find out that
Mm,
Resistance wasn't like Outbreak. I mean, Resistance is still good. I was telling one of my friends that it's basically Rainbow Six as far as playing the mastermind, but like with zombies, because like you gotta put your zombies on the map and stuff, like tactical
mm,
thing. It's not like obviously it's not like Rainbow Six. It's just like when you're the mastermind, you can just like set up traps and stuff like that, which is cool. But I still wish for Outbreak. I wish they should have done
right.
Outbreak 3. They really should have done Outbreak 3.
Yeah, I think that would have been interesting actually. And I could see there are certain Outbreak vibes in Resistance. From the way the characters are kind of presented to even like the vibe of the game does have this Outbreak. The does call me back to Outbreak a little bit, but yeah, it is fundamentally a very different experience. And yeah, I mean it's really hard to say how Capcom or any game company decides to make what they make. I mean, I would have if I could be the fly in the wall at the meeting, I would have definitely pushed for Outbreak, an Outbreak successor. I think that would have been the perfect game to pair with Resident Evil 3, and I think it would have offset a lot of people's concerns about the length of the game. But I do like the fan service kind of elements to Resistance as well, like being able to choose the masterminds who are past Resident Evil villains. And I think Jill is coming as DLC to Resident Evil Resistance soon, and I would imagine Carlos will come at some point, maybe even Leon and Claire. So
Man, I was
I look
so
forward to seeing what they do with it.
like I didn't realize at the time when I first played Resistance that not only are the villains unique, like they have their own unique skills. Like
Mm-hmm.
I think her name is Annette, right? Birkin.
Annette, yeah, yeah.
Yeah, like I didn't know she could control William, the G virus Birkin. Like it was only for her. Like the other masterminds can't do it. And I loved like she would like when you summon him, she'd be like, "My love, come and save me and kill those worthless peasants or whatever." That kind of stuff. I loved that it was unique. Like each villain, each mastermind had like its own thing basically, like its own move set, you could say. So, but yeah, but I mean, overall though, did you at least have a good time with Remake 3?
Yeah, overall, I mean, I've been a bit down on it during the entire radio broadcast, but I do need to emphasize it's a good game. And I think despite the questionable value, there is entertainment to be had. There are great boss fights to be seen in the game. The cutscenes and the characterizations of Jill, Carlos, Nikolai are fantastic. And
Why is
I
it with a
don't think
redesign? The redesign of Jill
Great.
and Carlos. You like it?
Fantastic, yeah. I mean,
Okay.
even though Carlos has a very different appearance, I think it's for his benefit. I think it gives him a less corny, or not corny, but a less I'm forgetting my English. A less
generic.
generic. Yeah, yeah. I mean, the original Carlos. I mean, he looked distinct in his own sense. Like none of the other characters really looked like him too much. But I do think a Hispanic Resident Evil character with very visible facial hair and an afro is a Resident Evil design we haven't really seen before, and I'm glad that they were willing to try that. And you know, when we saw Chris Redfield in Resident Evil 7, I think 99% of people there, one, didn't believe it was him because he looked so different and he behaved so different.
I'm one of those.
Right. But even though Carlos looked different, they made sure to characterize him consistently with the original to an extent. But they even improved Carlos, and I think that's actually a very positive thing about his character. And I hope they bring Carlos back in a future Resident Evil game, because I think in the way he was presented in Resident Evil 3 Remake, he could make a very positive contribution to the different characters in the series.
Oh, well, speaking
Jill as well.
Well, speaking of future games, I'm sure you've heard of the rumors about Resident Evil 8. Obviously,
yes.
Yeah. So, are you excited about that?
Yeah. I mean, they're rumors, so we have no idea whether they're accurate or not. But I mean, I don't know. If you look at the last 10 major Resident Evil rumors that have come out in the last few years, I do think there's some element of truth to all of them. So,
I think
assuming
they said
that
Chris is supposed to be one of the main protagonists.
Yeah, it was something about werewolves, was it? Werewolves in a village somewhere.
I didn't
And
really read the rumors. I just saw the headlines, to be honest. I didn't really actually.
Right. I mean, I'll be open-minded, because I think Resident Evil 3's problem was that it's a little too homogenized as a Resident Evil game. It pulls too much from other games, not enough from the original Resident Evil 3. And overall, it doesn't feel all that different, which was another problem that I had with it, even though it's structurally a very good game. But to that end, if Resident Evil 3 is going to... not Resident Evil 3. If Resident Evil 8 is going to try something unexpected and different and refreshing, then I am 100% behind what Capcom may or may not... I'm 100% behind what Capcom may be doing. So I can't wait. I mean, maybe in terms of the rumored timeline, like January 2021, it feels a bit soon.
Yeah. Especially with the coronavirus and stuff.
Not even coronavirus. Just the fact that we got Resident Evil 2 last year, we got Resident Evil 3 this year. To get a third Resident Evil game in as many years would be something we haven't seen for a long time. So
and it could be quite worrying, right? Because getting three games, each one a year apart, that could be a bit suspicious. You know what I mean?
I mean, yeah, franchise fatigue, I would say, is something that the series has experienced in the past at several different points. I would say it most notably happened
after Code
between
Veronica.
the releases of between Code Veronica and Zero. I would say there was a lot of that. I would say also the 2012 when Resident Evil Revelations, Resident Evil Operation Raccoon City, Resident Evil 6 all came out within months of each other. I think that kind of induced a bit of franchise fatigue. So it'll be interesting to see how Capcom carefully navigates their future plans for the series, because, I mean, I work in the game industry, so I do understand that there is a nuance to how games are developed, and just because 1 + 1 = 2, it doesn't mean if we cancel Resident Evil 8, Resident Evil 3 would have magically been twice as long, right? I'm not insinuating that, but Resident Evil 3 was a short game, so if they're going to follow up with another game less than 8 months later, then I would hope that they do a lot to make it stand out and to make it unique and interesting. And I look forward to it, actually. So
did you like the first-person view of 7?
Oh, absolutely, yes. I don't think it makes a humongous difference in how I play a Resident Evil game, whether it's over the shoulder or first person. I do think there are more similarities to them than there are differences. And I would say that also kind of comes down to how Capcom games generally feel. I think there's a specific way of how they handle, how they animate, that the perspective of a Resident Evil game doesn't necessarily change. I did play RE7 in VR, which I also enjoyed. But if RE8 is in first person, again, I am more than happy to, take my PlayStation VR out of storage and give it a run. There was a rumor that it could be a cross-gen game, so PS5, Xbox Series X. And a series doesn't have too much history with cross-gen, but if those versions can run very nicely on the newer hardware, assuming they exist, then I'm excited for that as well. So yeah, Resident Evil 3 was a bit of a setback, a little bit, but RE8 sounds like it could be good.
So for me, Resident Evil 7, I was not sold on it when it was first announced. I did, but it was kind of interesting to me. I got it because in the end I knew it was going to be a good game, but I wasn't really sold on the previews and trailers and stuff. I got it. My first 20-30 minutes of the game, I was like, I feel like it's trying to be different from previous Resident Evils, but I just kept going. And then after the 30-minute mark, I was like, wow, this is actually a Resident Evil game. It's just a different perspective, but it really did feel like a Resident Evil game, because the beginning, I think they're trying to throw you off with with the first person perspective and things like that, and totally different setting and whatnot. But then the more you play, the secret underground lab and the traditional Resident Evil stuff, it was there, and I liked that. So yeah,
I was sold on the idea from day one because the demo came out.
Yeah.
The day the trailer launched, and there were things about it that looked more like Fatal Frame or Silent Hill or Outlast than Resident Evil, but I was cognizant of the fact that this was not Resident Evil's first time being a first-person game. We had the Gun Survivor games, we had Umbrella Chronicles, Dark Side Chronicles, so the perspective by itself did not tell me that, this can't possibly be a Resident Evil game. So I kept an open mind, and yeah, that first demo, the beginning hour demo, is definitely very, very unique in a lot of ways. But I quite enjoyed it. And when the final game came out, I feel like it clicks after a good 45 minutes. Once you're through with that scene in the dining room, and you're finally able to explore a non-linear environment, and you start finding keys and puzzles and files and whatnot, it really clicks, and it reminds me a lot of the original Resident Evil. So yeah, I thought Resident Evil 7 was very well executed all around. It's funny, I thought that game was a bit short when it came out. Resident Evil 2 was even shorter if you just count one scenario, and Resident Evil 3 is even shorter than that. So
Resident Evil 2 though has the content though.
It does. It's a little too repetitive from scenario to scenario, which wasn't always true with the original RE2. So that's my biggest problem with that. But there are 4 scenarios. There's the Hunk minigame, there's the Tofu minigame, Ghost Survivors, all the Hunk alternatives that weren't in the original. So Resident Evil 2 at least, had a bunch of stuff. But I would say in the end, when all the DLC for RE7 came out, It's actually quite a content-rich game. We have the main game. We have the daughter's scenario. We have Jack's 48th birthday or something? I can't remember the exact
were
age.
those DLC? Those were DLC though, right?
Not a Hero and End of Zoe. Yeah. Yeah, they were
Free DLC.
And then there's Ethan Must Die as well, the mini game, which is quite addicting to play. So yeah, there's like a lot of different stuff you can do in Resident Evil 7 as a complete package. And if you haven't bought it yet, it's not a terribly expensive game anymore, and you get all the content. So I would say it's very feature rich, and I hope Resident Evil 8 follows in its footsteps, offering us different scenarios, different mini games, different characters as well.
I mean, that's what I hope. I mean, I think Capcom with Resident Evil 7 and Remake 2, I think they really struck gold with the fans, and the fans.
They did.
Yeah. So
Absolutely.
I think it would be a shame for them to drop the ball right now when everybody's like really into Resident Evil more than ever. I don't think Resident Evil has been this hyped or talked about since Resident Evil 4, which is like 15 years ago. You know,
Right,
and
right.
and that's your favorite Resident Evil, right? 4?
Overall, yeah, because
Overall.
Resident Evil 4 just I mean, it for me personally, it's a very enjoyable game to play, and I never get tired of it. And
Did you play
I
it on
think it's
launch? Did you play it on launch?
yeah,
Okay.
day one. Oh, absolutely. Resident Evil 4, just because I work in the game industry and I work with a lot of game creators, I have a very keen interest in video game development history and how the industry kind of evolves from year to year. And I don't think there is any Resident Evil game aside from the original that made such tremendous contributions to the medium. I feel like video games today are as good as they are because games like Resident Evil 4 came out and kind of set a lot of precedents. So without games like Resident Evil 4, Ocarina of Time, Super Mario Brothers 3, Mario 64, Half-Life, what else is there? Gran Turismo, Ridge Racer. These are the games that kind of Street Fighter, Mega Man, Castlevania. These are the games that set precedents and help the medium develop into its full potential. And I think only Resident Evil 1, the original, and Resident Evil 4 are the games in the Resident Evil series that really push the medium. And I just have to love Resident Evil 4 for that.
Actually, Alex, if you don't mind, there's some trolling going on in chat. I just gotta.
I have my glasses off, so I'm going to have to peek right
So-
into the...
Yeah. Hypure Games and Sir Ganesh. If you guys don't behave, you're gonna be banned. Okay? Red Dead Redemption 2 does not deserve to be, part of the list that Alex said. All right? You guys need to behave.
I mean,
Uh-oh.
I was not a fan of the input lag in that game.
Oh my God! That's why I don't like it.
But-
I don't have
but,
anything wrong
yeah.
with the game. It's the input lag.
It's like you press a button and then it's like
10 hours
Wait.
to move.
it's like waiting for paint to dry. That said, the world building in that game is amazing. Like
It
I
is.
love the graphics, I love the dialogue, I love the scenarios. I can see why that game is selling well. It's just that
But
when
okay, Alex, I have a question.
when you played a game, when you played Resident Evil 4 15 years ago and that game had super responsive controls, you played Red Dead Redemption 2, it's like
Thank you, Alex. All right. Okay? This is the point I have with these trolls that they don't understand. Okay, the trolls that are in chat right now. Okay, which one of them like I said before. Unfortunately, I kept telling them the graphics are amazing, the story, the scenarios, the world building, all of that. I agree. It's amazing, but in the end, we play a video game. If I cannot have fun playing, controlling it, what's the point in all the other nice stuff? You know, the most important thing is the controls. And if the controls, and they cannot, like I kept telling them, guys, the controls are laggy. It's laggy. The input, they're like, no, it's fine. I'm like, it's not fine. You know?
I mean, I'd be a hypocrite if I said Resident Evil never had problems with its
No,
controls.
but that was different. That was due to like technology at the time. Like Resident Evil 1, if it came out the way it did now, yeah, you would say it's shit controls. But 25 years ago, you really couldn't say that because it was still like this new thing, and the technology was new. Like 3D graphics was a new thing. Now there's no reason to have input lag like that. I mean, I even went to the options in Red Dead Redemption. I changed like everything to fast, and it was still slow for me.
Yeah, I thought that was very puzzling, but apparently other Rockstar games are like that. I didn't play the first game.
But they were never this bad. I mean, I really liked Red Dead Redemption 1. I even played the original one, Red Dead Revolver by Capcom.
Yeah.
On PS2. They were all good. I mean, even the PS2 one plays smoother than Red Dead Redemption 2, you know? So that's my issue. And yeah, so just the trolls, please behave, okay? Don't mention the name Red Dead Redemption in chat. That will get you banned. So yeah, we just had to get that, you know. Every week we have fights with these guys. What?
Now that you mention it. Sorry.
No, do you know what wouldn't get them banned from chat?
What?
Is participating in the first giveaway.
Yes, which we will do very, very soon. We will do very, very soon. I did not forget that.
I
trust
mean,
me.
I just wanted to mention that Red Dead Redemption does have its origins with Capcom and with Resident Evil. Funny enough, I think the development team of the original version of Red Dead Revolver,
yes,
was the studio that ported Resident Evil 2 to N64. So yeah, there's actually a connection between franchises. I mean, it's ancient history now, but it's interesting how they have that connection there, and how we've been talking about Red Dead Redemption 2.
and just before we just go, before you continue, Alex, I just want to stop you just for like 30 seconds, because like Ali said, we want to do like the giveaway right now. Okay.
Yeah.
So we like to do the giveaway, like, and while we talk, you know, the chat can, you know, enter the giveaway and whatnot. So like we said, there's going to be two giveaways. The first giveaway is a $20 PSN card or €20 PSN card. Okay. You guys know the rules. Type in the command raffle in chat, and once the timer finishes, like me, Alex, Ali, we're gonna talk, and then once the timer finishes, we'll I forgot the word now.
We'll pick the winner.
Pick the winner. Yes, thank you.
So, and that's why I'm here.
And that's why you're here, not because you don't play. What's it called?
Resident Evil.
Resident Evil.
Another example of why I'm here, guys.
So
that's so bad. Next time I go to Kuwait, hopefully sooner than later, we have to get Ali into a dark room,
and get him to play. Yes.
Resident Evil 7 would be a good place to start.
Oh no! Well, you are welcome. My house has a dark room on the roof that has a TV and a PlayStation 4.
So yeah, guys, the giveaway is now open. So just follow what's said in chat, and once the timer runs out, we will announce the winner. Just do command raffle. So, anyways,
the answer is 50. I'm just kidding. No.
So yeah, Alex. Sorry, before I cut you off for the giveaway, you wanted to say something? I think.
I think I've said my piece.
Okay.
About RE3 or about something else or Red Dead.
Oh, yeah, it was like a mix of stuff. Well, Alex, actually, this is a good jumping off point because we promised the chat that we're gonna now do like a new format for the show, other than the interviewing part, which we just basically did. We like to say crazy stories that happened in our line of work. Okay, and since you're the guest here, we thought that we would say a crazy story that involves us. Like
I
just like
wonder what it could be.
Yeah. So so yeah, I think what I want to say, and I guess you're okay with us saying this story.
Be my guest.
Okay. So, 2 years ago, Alex, Brave Wave, and the whole crew came to Kuwait to attend an expo in Kuwait for the first time. And they pretty much sold out of everything, right? Like your CDs, pretty much, like the first time. So the second year, now that we know each other and you know how things work and you know your expectations of the expo, you knew to bring more merchandise to the expo. But what you did differently this time, and well, actually, I'm not going to say what happened. I'm going to say the problem, and then I'm going to say how it happened. I think it was you. No, I think it was Fahad. I don't know who it was, or maybe Muhammad, contacted me and said, I think it was Muhammad said, who's the founder of Brave Wave. He said, we can't get the CDs from customs because you guys actually brought the CDs with you in your luggage.
Suitcase, yes.
Suitcase, yeah. And I was kind of confused. I was like, why? And then they said that they need like papers that you have like a authorized retailer or something, and like they were like asking like for like all these like weird things. And I myself was confused. I was like, what's going on? So for like 24 hours, I knew that you guys had a problem with your CDs, your merchandise at the airport. But I couldn't figure out why it became such a problem. I had an idea why it would be a problem, but I didn't have the full picture. And then I think it was Muhammad, the next day he said, Yusuf, I just can't leave, all these boxes in the airport. I'm like, what boxes? He's like, I think they were like holding 3 or 4 boxes. Is that correct? And I was like, Alex brought 3 to 4 boxes in his suitcase, and it wasn't even in your suitcase. So I was like, it was like its own like thing. It was like a separate outside of your suitcase. I was like, no wonder they seized that stuff.
I mean, to be fair, we were a group of 5 people, and to be fair, I had plans to go elsewhere in the Middle East after, so I needed to have the least amount of baggage after the event. It's just that I happened to be pushing all of them myself, and the people I was with exited customs before me. So that's why it looked like I had a mountain of merchandise that I was bringing into the country without making the proper declarations.
Exactly.
So that was a lesson learned.
So basically,
I mean, yeah.
So basically, what then I found out the full picture, and I found out that, like Alex said, Alex was in the airport at the customs point with like 3 or 4 big boxes of merchandise, and that's actually, you're not supposed to do that in any country. That's not just in Kuwait. It's like in any country, because you have to declare that you bought so and so. But the idea was you were supposed to spread it out with the guests that you had with you on the plane, but they just, like you said, they rushed and they left you alone. So you were stuck with it.
Yeah, and even to that point, in most countries, even if your stuff is subject to customs fees, usually they're very transparent, and usually they're very eager to collect money from you. and it's the end of story. But with
Right.
Kuwait, it was quite an exceptional experience.
It was.
I'm
It
talking,
was.
I'm talking, I'm talking to Kuwaitis right now, so I will say nothing more
No, 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 no,
about
no.
how
It's
I
okay.
feel about
Hey,
that.
hey,
But
take like you can say whatever you want. By the way, you don't know this,
really,
Alex. You don't know this, Alex. But one of the people who even got involved in trying to help us was actually Ali's father for your
ooh,
merchandise.
I
Okay.
appreciate.
So, anyways, by the way, this is like a safe channel, safe zone. Like you can feel free to say whatever you want. If you wanna say fuck Kuwait, go right ahead. You know,
Oh, I'm not gonna.
it's
There's
it's
like
it's no problem. You know, we say
you.
it ourselves.
Disclaimer,
there-
disclaimer. I would like to disengage from this conversation. Thank you very much. Please go ahead.
I mean, contemptible bureaucracy exists in every country,
Right,
especially in Japan. I've seen it in Europe as well. And so in that sense, it like the mere idea of bureaucracy doesn't phase me too much, because usually I'm eager to find out how to get around it and how to deal with it. You know, if I have to pay 10% taxes to get this cargo into the country, please tell me how to do it so I can do it and move on with my life. That's my way of doing things. Mohammed hired me as the businessman at Brave Wave, literally because
Right.
I like to do this.
Right.
But even then, the process that the people at the airport seem to be arbitrarily applying, coupled with the language barrier, the cultural barrier, and being jet lagged and like having a million other things to worry about, was probably what kind
Escalated.
of
Yeah.
had me feeling more demoralized than I would
Right.
normally. I don't get demoralized that easily. And I've had a lot of things happen at work that
Kuwait will
would
do that for
warrant
you.
it. I mean, well, it's I mean, it was unfortunate, but I mean, like 99% of my experiences in Kuwait were pretty
I
pretty good.
know.
Otherwise,
I
think
know. No, but
I think
but
the people are great, the food's great. I mean, I actually, for people who might be listening, my family has actually a long history with Kuwait. So my uncle lived
Oh,
in Kuwait in the '90s as a worker. So I think he was an engineer at was it the American Oil Company, or was it Aramco? No,
Aramco's
it wasn't Aramco. The wrong country.
yeah, that's
Saudi.
Saudi.
Sorry,
That's
no,
Saudi.
that's Saudi. It wasn't Aramco, but he worked at one of the oil companies, and he lived there for 15 years, I think. So, and he was paid very well, and he was able to, buy his own house in the Philippines. My family's Filipino, so yeah, there are a lot of Filipinos in Kuwait.
yeah.
And yeah, so that was like since the '90s, I'd heard, my uncle in Kuwait, blah 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 blah, and then I met Mohammed, and I remember like every Kuwaiti likes to open up, like start chatting with me by saying, "I'm from this country you've probably never heard of. It's called Kuwait," and I'm always like, "Oh, that's cute. Tell me about it." So I don't know. In Japanese, we have this word. It's called "en," like I don't know. It's kind of like related to fate, or like we're destined to have some kind of connection. And I feel like Kuwait's that one country I have this "en" with it.
Right.
But yeah, I Kuwait 3 times now, and I've always had a great time. The Avenues Mall is gigantic. And I remember. It's funny. I went there 5 years ago on my first trip, and it wasn't that big, especially if you compare it to the malls in Dubai. But then, like the second time around, I was like, "Wait, oh my god, it's huge!" And
Yeah, the expansions happened.
I remember, I because the second time I went to Kuwait, I came with Shimomura-san, right, Yoko Shimomura, and I think she talked about this on her episode
Yes.
of the
Wiyana
Wiyana show, but
yes.
She was like, "Oh, why are there 2 Shake Shacks in this mall?" It's like, well, I can't see the end of this mall from where I'm standing, and like 10 Starbucks in this mall, and she we're supposed to go back to Kuwait, whenever things normalize and Yusuf can hold his anniversary event, which we're very much looking forward to.
Actually,
But-
I have to tell you something about that, Alex, and I think it's going to be interesting to say since people are in chat, so they know as well. Do you know remember the hall where I did GX?
Yes.
It's a makeshift hospital right now for coronavirus.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
The whole
Interesting.
fairgrounds, not just my hall, like every single hall, like the whole place is now a quarantine zone for coronavirus in Kuwait. It's like the center for coronavirus quarantine. So there's not going to be any expos anytime soon.
Well, I mean, I hope that the site is serving its purpose because
It is,
this caught the world off guard. Kuwait's a stone's throw away from Iran, and I imagine there was a lot of back and forth between the two countries. So I really hope that that expo hall is helping society at large, helping people recover.
It is.
It is.
I mean,
I'm actually very happy.
They opened 3 quarantine zones, like in different like parts of the country, like one in the very north, one in the very south, and then the one in the middle, which is the expo center. So now the expo center where Yoko was and Manami and Keiji and all of you guys is now just filled with beds.
Is that like where there, I guess, people with either mild symptoms or they're recovering, maybe? Is that where they go?
And testing.
And testing, basically, before they shut down the airport completely, the people who were traveling, like coming into Kuwait, they would take you to the fairgrounds where the halls are to get the testing done there.
Yeah. And the test would be like it would take 10 minutes to prove if you're positive or negative.
Because
And then after that,
because the halls are very close to the airport. They're like 7 minutes from the airport, so it's very quick.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Like, I mean, you don't really realize it because you go from the airport to the hotel and then to the convention center. But if you were to go direct line from the convention center to the airport, it's like super, super close.
Yeah, I have to admit, Kuwait City, it's kind of hard to get a sense of where everything is. It's like there doesn't. I mean, there's the Corniche, I think, and then
No, you're thinking of Saudi. That's Saudi.
Well, I mean, it's I don't know if you call it a Corniche, but they're like with the boat museum.
Yes.
Remember we went there with Charles and everybody.
Right.
I'm talking about
Right.
that place, right? There's
Right.
that place.
It's called the Gulf Street.
Gulf Street, yeah.
Gulf Street, yeah. And so, even though I've been there 3 times, I don't have a very great sense of where I am at a given point. It's kind of weird. It's not like Dubai, where you very clearly know where you are because there's a very centralized area. Or Abu Dhabi as well. You can kind of tell where you are. So Kuwait City's it's not necessarily confusing, but if you're not used to it, it's kind of hard to get your bearings.
Yeah.
I travel to a lot of places, and usually it doesn't take me very long to figure out where everything is. But Kuwait's interesting.
You know why?
But a lot of, especially
I'll tell you why, Alex.
Mm-hmm.
Because you can't really walk in Kuwait. That's why you don't get your bearings. You're always in a car.
Yeah, and because there's so much traffic, the scenery doesn't change often enough. So, it kind of happens before you realize it. I miss Kuwait now.
Everybody who's come to Kuwait, especially that came to my events, dating back to like our first guests, Daigo and Justin Wong and Filipino Champ and Ryan Hart. They just have the nicest things to say about not just the country, but not just the event, but the country and stuff. And for me it's very important. Like I think I told you this before, Alex. Like I don't really care about the expo as much as I care about showing the guests the country itself. Because you know, if the whole, you know, issues I had with, you know, convincing people to come and stuff. So I always want to take people around and show them and experience the
Right.
culture
Right.
and do as much as
Yeah.
I can, you know. Actually,
Right.
2 weeks ago, 2 weeks ago, we started this new format, and I don't think I'm not gonna say it right now, but I told the chat one of the most racist encounters I had in my work. Okay, so and it was actually in Gamescom, by the way.
Oh dear, in Germany. Wow.
Yeah, but it wasn't no, and what's funny, it wasn't even with Germans. It was an Indian who was racist towards Arabs. So yeah,
Interesting.
so the chat loved those kind of stories, and oh my God, I have like a million of them. But but anyways, the raffle, the giveaway, the first giveaway just closed. So let's just see who the first winner is. Good luck everyone who entered. Let's see who won. Oh, it's Baz. Congrats.
Congratulations, Buzz.
Baz won.
You'll probably be hitting yourself in the head when you find out what the second one is.
You can't win both?
No,
You
I
could,
mean,
but
you
it's a
could.
slight chance.
It just
Okay.
waits it. It just waits it, so it gives like the program tries gives many people a fair chance, basically.
But he
As
basically
you
used
wait,
up
you're
his
still in the
karma.
running.
He used up his karma this one, so
Congratulations.
maybe it could work for
So
the
yeah,
next
he
one.
won the $20 PSN card. And actually, before we continue with Alex, we have a second giveaway, and I think this one is very nice. I am still trying in my head to figure out how to best do it. I just want to make sure that everything is clear. Yes. Okay. So, first of all, what do you guys think of the background behind me? The
Nice.
people
I'm
like, you know, I'm
impressed.
talking to and
I,
people in
I, I,
chat.
I like how the umbrella seems to be crumbling.
It is like
Seems
it's
to be
falling.
falling,
It's like it's
like the
falling.
corporation.
So this next giveaway is actually related to the background behind me. Okay. The
Oh,
first and the first person in chat that replies will be with the correct answer will be the winner.
Oh.
So there's no bot, there's no anything. It's basically
It's your reflexes and your lag.
exactly. So I recommend refreshing the stream in case you lagged or something. Just hit refresh. And Jonas, we do not talk about my Jill body pillow, please. Do not embarrass me in front of people, okay? So, anyways, yeah, like Alex just had like a what the fuck look on his face.
We can always talk
no,
about my
not at
lint
all.
pillow, but I'm okay with that.
So,
I
anyways,
was just sanitizing my hands because I
so
touched my
anyways,
face a few minutes ago.
the what's it called? So yeah, before I tell you what the prize is and what the rules are, again, the first person to reply in chat with the correct answer is the winner. Okay, so based on the stuff that's behind me, okay, and since Resident Evil is a Capcom game, how many items behind me are related to Capcom? The first person to reply in chat, you know, with the correct answer wins a Resident Evil 3 Steam code remake. Resident Evil 3 remake Steam code.
Can I enter?
You want to answer?
Actually, no. I actually bought the game, so no, that wouldn't be fair.
The answer is 70.
70. So, okay. Ganesh says 8. Jonas says 9. I'm not gonna say if you guys are right or wrong. I'm just gonna wait for like. I mean, Ganesh could be right for all I know. But I just want to see what other people in chat think. How many items? Again, Ganesh could have probably won. How many items behind me are related to Capcom? And I just want to make sure that you guys get the full picture. Yes, you got the full picture. How many items? So Ganesh says Hyper Games is out because he already got it. Baz because he won. Kuwaiti Shadow. I'm not saying Ganesh or Jonas are wrong. One of them could be right, but Kuwaiti Shadow, you want to give it a shot?
Well, if they own the game, maybe you can give them another game.
If they what?
If they own the game already, maybe you can give them something else.
No, the code is for like it's an actual code for Resident Evil. Like
it's already.
Yeah, like I can't. It's not changeable or it's not like a global thing or whatever. Okay. Okay. So actually, everyone is wrong. That's all I'm gonna say.
Oh wow! Then I'm wrong too.
Yes. How many? The thing is, since I said everybody's wrong, then people can just guess another number, which kind of defeats the purpose, and I might just make it into like an actual raffle. Then, I think that might be better because then people can just guess numbers and they'll get the right answer.
Well, there was a cutoff already. So, how many are there? It's not.
Okay.
It's not.
Yeah,
I'll tell you guys.
I'll
tell you guys, but it won't I won't.
No one will win after this.
Yeah, no one will win after this. We'll do it in a different format. There's actually 10 items.
10?
Yes. Okay. So you have the 2 pillows right here.
Yeah.
Street Fighter 2. That's 2.
Yeah, I saw those.
You have the umbrella.
Mm-hmm.
The umbrella.
Have Nemesis.
That's 4.
You have Ken Amiibo.
We can't see that.
Oh, I did.
No, you guys can't. You guys can't. But the chat can. The chat can.
Really?
Because your camera angles are different than the
chat can.
The chat can, and you have the Ryu Amiibo.
I see that.
Yeah, sorry. Like your cameras are different than the chats. You have the RPD jacket. You have the Mega Man 30th anniversary, and then you have the 2 RPD stars mugs in the back.
Oh,
the Ryu.
Alex, he made sure that you and me couldn't win.
I wasn't entering.
So
I can
that's
pick
actually so let's just count. That's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Oh, it is 11. It is 11. But no one got it right anyways. It's 11. Sorry.
We should let me pick the winner.
So
then.
Okay, that's those that's actually a good idea. I like that idea, Alex. So how do you want to choose the winner then, Alex?
That's a great question. What other kinds of ideas do you usually do, like on the show?
We usually just do like a bot, and just people like enter a command, and then just picks the winner randomly, basically. Which is what we just did, like for the first giveaway. So we could just do it like that, or if you wanna. But I'm only accepting the first answer though. I can't accept multiple. So if you want, if you want to ask a question and then the chat replies and the first reply is correct, we could do that as well. I mean, that's also fine.
Something Resident Evil related, huh? I mean, I guess everyone here is a diehard Resident Evil fan to some extent.
especially this guy who's next to you.
Hmm. Wow. So, okay, I am going to ask the most random Resident
It
Evil
doesn't even have to
related
be Resident Evil if you don't want to. It can be something else. It can be something non-Resident Evil.
No, I think we should keep it.
Okay,
Resident
yeah. We
Evil
should
theme.
keep it Resident Evil because it's a Resident Evil theme.
All right, I'm just gonna have a quick look at this map. And all right, what is the Resident Evil game that takes place closest to Kuwait geographically?
That's a good question. First person who replies with the correct answer, and only one answer, guys, is going to be the winner. Are you looking at the chat, Alex? Someone said
I am.
Resident Evil 5.
Someone
Troll
said 5.
says,
Someone said 6.
yeah. That's
Yeah,
the
let's
troll,
wait.
by
Let's
the way.
wait for the rest.
By the way,
let's wait for the
Sir
rest.
Ganesh is Alex. Sir Ganesh is Dorian.
All right, Sir Ganesh might win, but I actually don't know the answer either. So I'm more guesses, people. Come on, it's definitely not like RE0, 1, 2, or 3.
You wouldn't win
But I do have-
anyways because trolls are banned from entering.
I do have a way of figuring it out, though, and I'm gonna figure it out together with everybody
Okay.
on this.
Okay.
Because we're all holed up at home, I assume, and you don't have anything better to do. So,
Exactly.
so we have
The only thing
5,
we're gonna do after this is
6,
eat.
5. Okay. I'm gonna use Google here to figure this out. So
All right, Uncle Google.
The consensus seems to be 5 or 6. Okay, and we can do this all day. I don't care. We can narrow it down. Like a tournament.
Alex, just so you know, at this hour in Kuwait, if right now, if you walk outside, you're gonna go to jail. Just so you know. So people are gonna be staying home.
Okay, so
The government doesn't want the T virus to spread in Kuwait.
I mean, they've even quarantined two whole
Towns.
areas. So.
Oh
Yeah.
dear.
Those towns are completely quarantined. No one in, no one out.
Exactly.
So I am going to use real world locations to approximate where the various Resident Evil games take place.
Okay.
Okay.
So, and I'm gonna
let Alex handle this giveaway. It's gonna be his rules, his decision. I'm just the guy who's gonna give the code. That's all I'm gonna do.
And for consistency, we'll use air travel miles, according to this website called distance.from2.net.
So we have.
We'll pretend Resident Evil 5 takes place in Ghana, like West Africa. I think that was where they location scouted Resident Evil 5, so I'm going to use that. Okay.
Okay.
So apparently, the distance from Ghana to Kuwait is 3,471 miles.
Okay.
5,586 kilometers.
All right.
Do we use kilometers in Kuwait? Kilometers?
Yes.
Yeah.
Is that better?
Kilometers.
5.
Kilometers.
All right. Resident Evil 6 had 3 different locations. One of them is definitely not the right answer. The one from the US location is definitely not the right answer. But I would say distance from Serbia to Kuwait. Let's try Serbia to Kuwait.
No,
Kuwait.
I think Ghana. No, Ghana is all the way on the west side, right? If it's all the way on the left side, then Serbia would be.
Oh, then it might be Serbia. Ooh.
Distance in kilometers, 2,960.
Oh!
So RE6 is definitely a better answer than RE5.
Okay, but we have a problem though, Alex. Is that Sir Ganesh is a troll and he should not be allowed to win.
Why not? I'm a
Because-
troll. Only one person guessed 6 anyway. So.
You can't twist it.
He
You
says
can't
he
twist
says
it.
he says his PC can't run it, and
Well
he sa-
then, instead of giving him a code, why don't you give him a new PC?
Yeah, I'm not gonna fund what's it called, a troll. Hell no. He says I don't want to win. Sir Ganesh says I don't want to win. You know what?
But no one else said RE6.
I don't know. I have a feeling that this code should go to Jonas. I don't know.
Well,
I mean, like literally everybody in chat says they don't want it, except Jonas. So,
shall we try a different question then? And Dorian just doesn't apply.
I mean, honestly,
Dorian and Ganesh don't apply if we're gonna get.
I'm reading the chat, Alex, and there's like literally like 4 or 5 people who said they're not going to enter. So we might as well just give it to Jonas, I think.
Okay, Jonas. I have a question for you.
Okay. A specific question to Jonas. Yes, I like that.
It's a question you can't get wrong.
Okay. Do you
What
hate
is-
Dorian?
We all do.
Okay, good. He's not kidding.
Okay, Jonas, what is your favorite Resident Evil character and why?
Oh, nice question. I like that. I like that question. I love that question.
And I have standards here, so your answer might not be wrong, but I have every right to like it or hate it.
Ooh.
I like that.
Get ready to be complimented or called out in front of everybody.
Actually, Alex, you also kinda know Jonas as well in real life.
Oh, do I?
Yeah, he was part of
Have we met?
the meetup when we were in Germany.
Do monsters
Oh,
count?
okay.
But like,
Yeah.
I don't think you actually like sat with him or talked to him, but like he was part of the group.
God, I hope Gamescom happens this year. It's not likely, but it'd be nice
Jonas
if it did.
says, "Do monsters count?"
No. Let's go with humans or former humans.
Honestly,
Spoiler alert.
I don't think Gamescom is gonna happen, and if it does, it's gonna be like a very gutted version of it.
I'm not terribly optimistic about it either.
Yeah.
And E3 got off light, huh? They canceled before everything hit the fan.
Okay, bye. Hype your games. See you
Buy
later.
hype your games. Be
Later.
careful. Wear your mask. Wear your gloves. Wear your.
You also met Hyper Games in the meetup as well, Alex.
Well, it's a small country. I feel like I've met everybody at some point. Yeah.
So
Jonas, I'm waiting.
Yeah, he's probably
Come on,
typing.
Jonas.
He's probably
Come on,
typing.
Jonas, come on.
Hot day, please.
You've got a
So
deadline
anyways,
of 5 seconds.
what's the
4.
situation in Japan though, like with the coronavirus, Alex?
Oh yeah, so Japan so far has kind of gotten off a little light compared to other countries. Elsewhere in Asia, obviously China and South Korea were a lot worse off. Yes, Leon, thank you. You win.
Jonas, you won. You'll get
By far.
You're gonna get your code within the next
Far.
24 hours.
See this guy? All right. Well, in all seriousness now, congratulations, Jonas. But Resident Evil, coronavirus. Yeah, Japan began its state of emergency 3 days ago, and it's meant to be a preventative thing because, you know, a lot of people in Japan haven't realized just how terrible the situation is, despite what's been going on outside of the country. Today, we had our highest day of infections that were confirmed through testing.
How many?
180 people in Tokyo alone.
Ooh.
So that is lower than other countries like the States, Italy, China, South Korea, but it's only a matter of time before Japan ends up just like those other countries if no action is taken. So
Yesterday in Kuwait it was 122. So so I'm gonna guess it's gonna start skyrocketing in a few days, unfortunately.
Yeah, Tokyo has a massive population, which makes it, and it's very dense and compact, and there are lots of people riding the trains and out and about, and not everybody is really heeding to the warnings that you should stay home. So that worries me a lot. I've been sheltering at home. I don't go out unless I have to buy food. That's pretty much it.
So you're basically stuck home for the past few days.
Yeah, just staying at home. I mean, I can work from home. And I have worked from home for a long time. So I am maintaining some of my productivity. But the thing is, it's impossible to meet clients and start new business opportunities. Every event I was supposed to, prepare for this year, E3, GDC, GX even.
Everything.
Have all been canceled. So I don't have any events to prepare for either. So I feel like my productivity is lower than I would like it to be. So it's unfortunate, and I wish things were a little different. But
I'm actually surprised with how Kuwait handled the situation, because they handled it very, very well, honestly, all things considered. But I wanted to ask you something, Alex. When we were talking about the coronavirus a while back, when it was just first starting, you were surprised that Kuwait, I think you said Kuwait shut its airport or something like that, I think. Why did that surprise you?
Because, I mean, the last time that happened was basically the Gulf War, I imagine, right?
Yeah.
So when they're shutting the country down, things have gone past the point of no return. So I was indeed very surprised. I mean, even other countries haven't quite gotten to that level yet. I mean, there are various travel bans in place now, but technically airplanes are still flying to some extent.
Yeah.
You can travel overseas if you're willing to shoulder a certain level of risk, like getting stranded, or whatnot. But I mean, it's funny. It might sound funny to hear that, but that's the situation. So Kuwait, having entirely closed itself off, that's like North Korea levels of isolation right there, right? So it's like, well, things must be getting pretty bad.
But
you can't even go to like Bahrain, right, or Saudi or Qatar.
You can't go anywhere. All borders are closed. I mean, right now, I'm telling you, if I were at this hour right now, in real time, at this hour, if I were to step out of my house and go anywhere, I would get arrested.
Yeah, and either be imprisoned for 3 years, or fined 10,000 KD, or both.
Which is $30,000.
10,000 KD.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're not fucking around. They're very serious about this.
Yeah.
And the curfew in Kuwait is from 5 p.m., which is right now, until 6 a.m.
Yeah. It was 4 a.m. last week, but beginning of this week they made it 6 a.m.
Yeah. And
so they're slowly moving it into a full-time curfew. No one's gonna get out, probably.
And so far, at least the government sector, and obviously other private businesses as well, but all government sector jobs have now been off for 1 month, and they extended that off to 3 more weeks. So technically,
government and private sectors. Both.
Yeah, there's no going back to work before April 26th or 24th.
Yeah.
And even then, it might be extended, because April 25th is the first day of Ramadan.
So it's probably going to be extended. And the biggest surprise that has happened was actually the fact that the banks, all of the banks, without any exception, were ordered to stop pulling their loan installments. Their stop getting their debt from the loans that they've given out.
collecting.
Yeah, stop collecting the debt for the next 6 months.
Hooray!
So
Actually, Alex,
yeah, it was.
Actually, Alex, the silver lining in all of this, and by the way, there are going to be elections in Kuwait this October, so this will obviously definitely going to affect the elections happening in October. Everybody in okay, forget how the country is being strict, but they're not being strict because they're dicks. They're being strict to for safety reasons.
Yeah.
Everybody.
No, I totally understand.
It's not a bad thing. It's a good thing. It's actually a good thing. And by the way, all the citizens in Kuwait are in agreement with how the government is handling it, and they're doing such a good job. The problem is they're doing such a good job, the government, that the people in Kuwait were like, where the fuck have you guys been, hiding all this time? Right now, rules
actually come through all.
Rules are being implemented. There's a joke. I mean, actually, almost if you ask any citizen from any country, they will always say this about their country. A German would say this about Germany, an American would say this about America, and a Kuwaiti would say this about Kuwait. Is if they announce some new rule, oh yeah, you're gonna have to wait 5 years or 10 years for it to get implemented or whatever. Right now in the coronavirus, they are announcing new rules and laws and implementing them within 12 hours of announcing the laws. Okay? Yeah. All of a sudden, and Kuwait is not really a country for delivery service. It's not really like that. Sorry, not delivery service. Online delivery is what I should say, not delivery. Delivery has always been there. Online delivery. All of a sudden, every government ministry has now a website portal to do all your paperwork through it instead of going, in the traffic. They will send you your paperwork to your house. All of a sudden, the government-owned food businesses now have online deliveries and shit. Where the fuck have you guys been all this time?
Yeah, that sounds profound.
So
they realize that they've been.
By the way, I'm not complaining, and no one is complaining. This is all good stuff. But we had to go through a pandemic for this stuff to appear for us. So now basically what's going to happen? This is my thoughts on this. My personal thoughts because of the elections is all the people who are in parliament that would say make up excuses oh yeah, this stuff takes time to implement and yada yada yada. I don't think that they have a bright future in front of them after what people saw that what can be done, when people needed to get stuff done. So so yeah, that's honestly that's the good thing about it, that all of a sudden paperwork can now be done instantly online. By the way, Kuwait is not an online country when it comes to paperwork and stuff, and you experienced that with the customs thing. So now everything is online. The telecom companies, which some of the people in chat, remember I mentioned this to them, they are now offering 5 gigabytes of free mobile data just for free for a month, just for you to stay home, Alex.
Wow. That's pretty good.
5 gigabytes a day free. So so yeah, then Ali said, the whole loan thing is being stopped and stuff like that. So that's the silver lining. And honestly, the biggest take for me personally from the coronavirus is I think this is the first time in human history, at least in modern human history, that we have a common enemy, and anyone you talk to is affected by the coronavirus, from regardless of which country they're at, religion, gender, whatever.
Your wealth, it's background. Everybody's
you
been
can
affected.
you can talk to anyone in any country, and you will immediately have something in common, which is the coronavirus. So yeah, the
Whoa.
coronavirus is a bad thing, but I always like to see things, from the positive end. And the positive end is like I feel like it's connecting us. It's yes, we could have been connected under better circumstances, but at least we're getting connected in a way.
While maintaining social distancing.
Yeah.
So that's kind of ironic.
So
Yeah, but I mean, I'm happy to hear that. Japan, I feel like, it's going to be a bit of a slower pace because people are very set in their ways here. But I do hope that people start to realize that, your life doesn't revolve around work. You don't have to get on a crowded train every
are there
morning.
many businesses still open, like private businesses?
Um, yeah, the ones that can stay open and have a reason to stay open are trying their best to stay open. Um,
I'm
I
talking like
think,
office work or whatever, like not
yeah,
like
yeah, the ones who can take their work home with them are the ones who I feel like have begun to transition into a work from home or a teleworking environment. There are some who can't, like if you work at a supermarket, obviously
yeah.
you aren't working from home. Game companies like Square Enix are. I think they confirmed their first coronavirus case with an employee just today or yesterday, maybe,
Oh wow.
and they're all working from home now to the
Yeah.
to the extent permitted. Like with the game dev, it's really hard because if you're making a game with like a 100 person team, you have a centralized server where all the data is stored, and that's tons of data being transmitted, every second. And the average home internet connection anyway, can't really handle that kind of
Right.
bandwidth constantly. So, there are challenges on that end. So it's hard for the game industry as well, I
Yeah.
think.
Yeah. Well, anyways, Alex, that's
Mhm.
really it for our show. We
Mm,
had a fun
it was
time.
fun.
Just chatting, being casual. Joking around, having fun, poking at trolls in the chats. Saying I hate Dorian as many times as I possibly humanly can. Um, and yeah, and we look forward obviously to working with you and seeing you again in the very very near future. I hope once this whole thing settles down and they they disinfect the fairgrounds obviously.
Well, hopefully a vaccine will be out by then and it won't even be a problem.
Yeah,
Yeah.
So,
Hopefully.
exactly.
Hopefully.
Exactly.
yeah.
And yeah, and I hope, the people in chat, I hope you guys also had fun, just, being with us and chatting with us. And
Yeah,
this
yeah.
is this is what you guys should be looking forward to from now on. Next week, I can say is me and Ali last week discussed uh, how to move forward with this show. And what we decided is we're going to go in chronological order for because it's the 10th year anniversary of my company, Fikra. So basically, it's going to be like storytelling time on the Wiyana show every Thursday.
Mm.
Uh, and we're going to start next week in 2012. I will actually leave because we kind of mentioned 2011 last time with Daigo event, but I'm actually going to come back to 2010 and 2011 once I'm done with like everything else because I want to contrast, the ending with the beginning basically.
Mm.
So you can expect some crazy stories because Ali, you remember 2012 was the year of KBR, the year of Justin Wong,
Yeah.
the year of
Yeah.
Aziz. So that's going to be some very, very good stories to tell you guys. So yeah, that's it. Thank you everyone for joining us, and we will see you next week. Remember, next week we'll be back to our normal time, which is 6 p.m. Kuwait time, which is 5 p.m. Central European time, 4 p.m. GMT. 12 a.m. midnight JST. So anyways, yeah, you guys take care. And Jonas, you will get your code within 24 hours. So thank you guys and see you
All right,
next
everyone.
week.